Hey, welcome into today's discussion. Yes, about resilience. And more importantly, however, is about my intention, my guarantee to change your perspective on the present moment and in these 500 seconds. So let's get into it. Arrogance, ignorance, and vanity walked into the hospital the other day. This is a lesson in resilience. And I say lessons meaning days can be good, bad, indifferent, up, down, windy, sunny, gray. But sometimes days are not all puppies and rainbows, as Mr. Andrew says on his daily narcissism commentary. Stuff and shit happens even on a good day. So this today is a recent recall and dispatch on my own resilience. So when I mentioned in the thumbnail and in the intro that arrogance and ignorance and vanity walked into the hospital last week, those weren't three individuals. Nope. That was all of me, as one of my favorite jazz tunes is called. All of me. I comprised those three entities, and I represented all three of those on that particular day. But not from any particular mistake or mishap. No, not that. This was the culmination, the zenith or the apex or depth of real despair that I brought on myself. Let's review how my dear friends called arrogance and ignorance and vanity escorted me into the emergency room and into my extended suite stay in the hospital for most of last week. I may or may not have mentioned those two previous health issues and occurrences. 2005 with a stroke in my brain, left side. And in 2016, my quadruple heart bypass surgery. No need to review the actual events and the extremely delicate surgeries. But obviously, they turned out okay, as I can mention them here with you today, and with some measure of sense and sanity. I know the sanity part is sketchy at best, but those two events happened 20 years ago and 9 years ago. After the successful surgeries, the doctors highly advised and warned me of the implications of not committing to necessary maintenance post-surgery. You know how when you do something or counter an event with conditions and circumstances and consequences against nature, you need to take your medicine. Yeah, that's what the doctors and nurses and medical assistants and hell, even the hospital janitors told me after surgery. Be sure to take your medicine. But I figured that I could manage this body maintenance thing without medicine and pills and such. And in my infinite wisdom and knowledge, I could control my diet and physical activity, and I wouldn't need that stuff. Here comes arrogance. That I knew my body better than any stinking medical official. And then here comes ignorance. That I would determine my internal infrastructure, my onboard facilities engineer, and I would decide how to steer this ship. Now with Vanity in the house, I talk about those process models for life in my book, about how I have related the journey of these journeys to resilience. They all look and sound good on paper. And just like what my arrogance and ignorance and vanity told me on that walk of shame into the hospital, all models, like my process models for life, all models are wrong, but some models can be useful. My personal models of health management were definitely wrong, but also they were useful in reminding me of the vastness of my non-knowledge, of my ignorance, of my arrogance, and of my vanity. My Creator, just like yours, clearly showed me not the errors of my waves, of the path laid out before me. That's what He showed me, but I chose to ignore that. And all I had to do was simply step onto and into that path laid before me. I didn't know I'd have to step into the hospital on that path and for that. And maybe I should look at that hospital extended stay as, how about like detention or summer school? But I needed those lessons and guidance. I hope you don't need that kind of trip anytime soon. What I'm encouraging you to consider is use my example as a very, very low, near the ground baseline that you can step over into your best. Have the courage, the confidence, and the humility to know when to take your own medicine. And don't do that in response to an emergency. Do it to support the urgency of this moment before a crisis appears to you. And use this time to reinforce your resilience. As I have relayed to you, I obviously needed the reminder. I needed the refreshing course. I needed to be reset on the simple things. Yes, knowledge can be useful. I have to counter that statement about knowledge being power. It's not power. Knowledge maybe can serve as fodder for the wisdom, meaning what you acquire as knowledge is nothing without the application of that knowledge. That's the wisdom. That's where the power comes in. And that's where lessons can be learned a little with more ease than being walked into the hospital with arrogance, ignorance, and vanity. Stay safe. Stay present. Stay current. No matter where you are in this world, remember and tell someone that you don't know. Hey, it's always 8:20.